afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Belkowitz, and we're here to talk to you today about a controversial issue in the concrete construction industry. I don't know if it's this dichotomy between healing and self-healing and what are we really talking about. And I wouldn't say it's a new concept. The healing of concrete, I think, is fairly old, at least the theoretical concept of it. What has become popular is that there are more materials available on the marketplace for that. It just seems like there seems to be some disagreement on the way self-healing and healing is defined. So we wanted to take some time to answer that question. We've gotten that question over the last couple months from a few people. So first and foremost, when we're talking about self-healing or even healing of concrete, we're talking about the mending of cracks that are formed either during the volume change of hydration, drying and plastic shrinkage during evaporation, or the induced stresses from the structure. And the cracks that we're talking about, I feel like, is probably the most subjective or random, but there seems to be a range of 0.5 millimeters plus or minus 0.25 millimeters. And the great thing about the plus 0.25 is that it brings you up to a 0.75 or 0.8 millimeters, and that falls up to a hairline crack, which is considered to be 1/32 of an inch wide. So we've got from as big as a hairline crack down to almost a quarter of that size at the 0.25 millimeters. And I've seen it all over the world, from here in the States, Australia, New Zealand, as well as the Middle East. But yeah, the crack widths are between that range. So when we talk about self-healing, let's separate the two. Self-healing recognizes, or is recognized as, there's something native in the concrete composite, something that was mixed in, that exists before the crack occurred, that is going to activate its own set of mechanics or kinetics, or that of the existing concrete, to bridge that crack and heal that crack over a period of time, whether or not there are water and alkalis present, or if there are water and alkalis present. Healing of concrete assumes that it's a retrofit, where you already have concrete that's been put in place for some time, whether it's 24 hours or 24 years, that you're either integrating or adding or spraying on a product to the concrete and relying on some of the failure mechanisms that have ensued to create cracks to allow for the migration or permeability pathways of that added material. So again, it's not anything that is native to the concrete. It's something that has to be added to after the concrete is already in an aged state. Both of these product types, if that's what we want to call them, or concepts, we have to have at least one thing in common: that the material that repairs the crack must have a greater or equal to or greater strength than the native concrete. And I guess the second thing would be having the same durability or better of the native concrete, the hydrated cement matrix. And the third thing would be with a material that has the ability to create its own gel. We always have to be cognizant of not creating something that's going to create its own deleterious or nasty environment. Let's say like an ASR gel, something that's expansive and can create residual stresses in those cracks, where the gel that is being developed is not really bridging the crack, but actually making the crack wider and ensuing more localized stresses that can cause cracking. So, I mean, we've got a lot of things for this gel to do, and then, the question is, how do we measure that? And that's actually going to be one of the focuses of a project that we're going to be running with this, one of our clients that we work with, looking at the self-healing properties and the healing properties of concrete, and how do we really induce those and manufacture them in the lab, and then prove the efficacy at a macroscopic scale and a microscopic scale. Okay, one more thing. The question is, what product types out there? And there's a few companies out there. You just type in self-healing concrete into a Google search engine, or Alta Vista, if that's what you use, and you'll get a bunch of hits. pretty darn quick, a few pages to look through, and everybody's got to do their own research. You'll have your locally sourced materials. It's hard for me to pinpoint a material that is specific to your area, like product name, but I will tell you of the different product types. There are integral additives that rely on sugars and bacterias, certain polymers that are manufactured, as well as nanoparticles that range on the colloidal-silica to carbon nano, so on and so forth, that can be used, and all of them have to be mixed in. And I will say that some materials, there is a sacrifice that you're making, to create that self-healing environment that it would be that you're creating this as part of the composite. There either needs to be a sacrifice of your fresh properties, the mix becomes stickier, harder to work with, or you might compromise some of your strengths, but if you're trying to incorporate this high level of a feature and benefit, sacrificing a little bit here or there really shouldn't be a problem. The second type of product is the product that's sprayed on, and most I've seen are colloidal silicas, colloidal silica hydrogels, where you're taking advantage of the concrete that has already failed, where there's some cracking, and spraying the technology on the surface so that it migrates through the cracks that have been induced, and combining with the materials that are already in the concrete, the porous solution, the anhydrous cement, and creating more of that backbone of concrete strength, more of what would be that native material. That would be more like the colloidal silicas going through some pozzolanic reaction. And then, you do have these hydrogels where there's a certain other technology that's added to these solutions that are sprayed or embedded into the concrete, where you have a gel that's created that has a nature that stops the migration of water, as well as draws out certain salts and chlorides, as well as creates that backbone of concrete strength. So there's a lot of options out there, and really you have to find what fits into your job site, whether that's the budget, the critical path, the sequencing, or the personnel that you employ and the equipment that you have. And I encourage you to do that wide search. I think we're going to be playing with a few products and posting those. We're excited to get work on this. Hope you enjoyed the video, and hope it defined for you, answering that question of what is self-healing versus healing concrete, and what do we need to look out for. If you have any questions, any concrete concerns, don't forget to shoot a comment, post. Check out our podcast. It's called The Concrete Note. It's pretty freaking awesome. Go concrete, beat asphalt.